Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's session of Unplugged with Ross. My name is Rosalind Miner. Always a pleasure to have you here. I appreciate your patronage. Tonight, we are having an interesting discussion. We always talk about leadership. Good leaders, bad leaders, we've all encountered them. And tonight's topic is when leadership goes wrong. Toxic leaders, broken cultures, and the ripple effect across teams. Interestingly, I remember when I was planning for this topic, for this session, I had an idea of who I wanted to have as my panelist. But interestingly, I did not know that she had also done a book to do with leadership. And her book is How Not to Lead. Tonight I'm joined by Jacinta Luanga. She is my senior HR colleague who has more than 30 years experience helping organizations strengthen leadership, culture, and organizational effectiveness. She brings a deep insight into the behaviors that build trust, shape performance, and influence lasting organizational success. Jacinta, karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Rosalind. Always a pleasure to have conversations with you, and especially conversations relating to human resource management, people management, and leadership.
I am so excited about today's topic because I think it will come second nature to you having written a book on leadership. But as is our norm, let's hear a couple of interesting statistics or facts when it comes to leadership. According to a 2024 Deloitte Global Human Capital Trends research, it found out that only 16% of workers said that they had a very high level of trust in their employer. Another study by Deloitte identifies four things that underpin organizational trust: humanity, capability, reliability, and transparency. Workers in high trust companies were found to be 50% less likely to leave, 180% more likely to be motivated, and 140% more likely to take on extra responsibilities. So as you can see, where organizations have invested in trust, where organizations are enabling people, people are more willing to stay, people are more willing to take up more. And it also has, a positive impact on mental health. That said, a Deloitte's research found that 53% of workers worry that increasing work stress will lead to worse mental health. It also found that 48% of workers and 53% of managers reported being burned out at work. So all of these are, results or culminations of environments that are there within the workplace. And therefore, tonight's topic, when leadership goes wrong, it will help us, dig deeper into what it is that we would deem to be good leadership, what is poor leadership, what do we need to stop, what do we need to groom. And who better to help us understand this than Jacinta? Do you have initial thoughts before we jump straight into the questions?
Oh, yes, Rosalind. The statistics speak a lot, and if they were to be analyzed deeper, they'd speak even further. But they should be indicators to leaders all over that there's something that can completely engage employees, and there's something that can completely disengage employees. And it's not about results, it's just about the environment and the culture in the organization and how they're being led.
Engagement, disengagement. Now, let
Yeah,
us keep that in mind as we have this conversation. To
exactly.
start us off, most leaders don't wake up intending to create fear, distrust, or unhealthy workplaces, yet many do. Looking back at your experience, what causes leadership to go wrong?
Okay. I believe that every human being is a good person inherently, yeah? Sometimes it's just circumstances that make people change who they are. So I don't believe most leaders deliberately come out to be toxic or bad leaders. Just maybe a few do it deliberately. Others it is usually unintentional. And sometimes they're not even aware of it. Because it could be issues of work pressure. They're accountable for such heavy targets, and the organization is pressing them to do that. And in the process, they actually transmit the pressure to their staff in in unhealthy ways, such that the staff also now call off, and stop being creative, innovative. They even fear speaking out, and in the process, fine, they may have short-term results as they achieve their goals, but in the long term, these are not sustainable. Also, sometimes some leaders may do this out of ambition to just grow at whatever cost. So sometimes it's just self-interest, but without realizing how is it affecting the people that I am leading. That is another way that they could do it. Other times, maybe they just have uh, crazy deadlines to deal with, and just they want to prove themselves. They want to prove themselves. And in the process of trying to do all that, they become rough leaders without realizing it. Not that they intentionally set out and said, today I'm going to this company and I'll be a very bad leader. No, I doubt that anyone does that because wherever everyone is employed, they try to give their best. Yes.
So, if I'm hearing you right, it brings out an aspect of the workplace environment.
Yes.
So,
Workplace
if the
environment.
if the workplace environment is not conducive, it
Yes.
is not allowing for people to, think, innovate, push boundaries, aspects to do with, you know, wondering if do we keep the status quo or not.
Mm,
If the workplace environment, on one hand, if the company or the organization is not having a conducive, positive workplace environment, it will inherently have a negative impact on the various leadership roles that are there within the
mm.
organization because, it's like business as usual. It's already bad. So, in as much as you are trying to do your best, you are fighting a system that is not helping you to to be the
Yeah,
best.
that is true. When leadership goes bad, it's not usually just the leadership problem, the leader's problem alone. Sometimes it's organizational problem. It's systemic. You know that these things go on. For example, you have this leader who is really bullying his staff, bullying them, humiliating them, but he delivers very good results. Yeah. And because he delivers very good results, maybe the senior team are just seeing the results, the board, and that's all they care about, and they're forgetting about the people. So in such a case, if this behavior is not curtailed, it becomes normalized, yeah, and it becomes part of the culture. And good, it will bring short-term benefits, but at that time you're reaping the benefits from one staff. Yeah. For the others, you're probably reaping 20% because you have really stressed them out emotionally. And in other ways, you have killed their confidence. You don't give them space to speak. You don't involve them. You don't get their ideas. There's no inclusivity. And then you create a fear. They can't even air their ideas. So you don't even know that you're hurting them because your feedback, there's no room for feedback. You see, you will just sit in some meetings, for example, and see that it's only one person who talks, or two at most, yeah? And the others are just quiet. And all those are very qualified and experienced people. Why are they so quiet? Why are they so quiet? And mostly the one who will talk is has some close relationship with the leader and is probably feels safer. And that brings us to the issue of psychological safety. Yeah, he feels safer. He knows that even if I talk, nothing can happen to me. But the others are quiet. What does that do to innovation, creativity, ideas, and just getting the best out of the people? So it's a two-way. It takes two to tango. It's the organization and the people. So organizations should try to ensure that they don't encourage toxic behavior at the expense of results. Because even if they get the results short term, in the long term they get greater losses. Yeah, because even these people will leave ultimately. First, they'll be there not giving their best, and when they're just tired and can take it no more, they will leave. Yeah. So it is a job for both. So I think the
Oh,
topmost should be careful as they see leaders who are mistreating other colleagues, and not doing anything about it. Then it passes the message that everything goes here.
now, what you've said actually touches on the second question I had for you in terms of are leaders aware of their impact to the team? But something you've mentioned that actually happens is, results are put at the very top. People want to see the
Yes,
results. And yes, every organization is in business to get the
yes.
results. However, at what
At
cost?
what cost?
So I think in as much as my question would have been, are leaders aware of their impact on people? I think we need to go deeper and go, are organizations aware of what they are promoting directly or indirectly and the impact it has on people? What are your thoughts?
It depends on the organization and the kind of feedback mechanism that it has. Yeah. If it's an organization where communication is stifled, fear reigns, yeah, and there's no psychological safety, they may not be aware. Because, I mean, who'll let them know? Who'll tell them? Them, they're just seeing good results. But if it's in organizations where a good environment has been created, where people know that I can speak without getting any retaliation, I can share my ideas, I can be innovative without being humiliated, and I can share my feedback, then in such cases the organizations are aware. And you'll see in such cases the culture is open and it's free and they tend to thrive and do better. Because then all the employees, including that well performing leader, are working at a better percentage of their capacity.
So, in essence, at the end of the day, there's accountability when it comes to both sides of the
Yes,
divide.
and more so to the organization because they should keep their eyes on the ground and look at people as well because results come from people. So you can't put results ahead of people. So they should look at people as well and see how are they. They should have some thermometers to measure the temperatures, the pressures of their people, and the culture
Yeah.
basically. Because once, if a bad leader enters into an organization with a good environment, they will not survive there for long. Yeah, where there's psychological
Yeah.
safety. But if a bad leader enters in an environment where there's no psychological safety, they'll thrive and stay there for as long as they can cause damage. Damage to the people, but success to the numbers.
Because at the end of the day, they're not
Yeah,
self-aware.
they're not
They
there.
are. They really don't know what it is that they're doing.
Yes, yes.
Now, now this takes us to the next question. We often blame individuals when leadership fails, but how much responsibility sits with organizations that rewards results at any cost, overlook destructive behaviors, or mistake control for strong leadership? You've already alluded to
Mm-hmm.
this with the first, the initial side.
Mm-hmm.
But now let us look at the organization. And yes, sometimes people will say culture. Culture are the things that we promote. People think culture is something big and foreign, but it's very much the simple things. What is it that we promote? What is it that we celebrate? What is it that we condone? Matters of psychological safety,
Mm-hmm.
matters of feedback mechanism. But even if you have a feedback mechanism, matters of action, where feedback has been received, then what is the consequence of that? So if we were to look at that angle, even if you were to talk about leaders and toxic leaders, but the organizations themselves, let us look at culture.
Mm-hmm.
Which are these cultures that promote toxicity? And which are these cultures that promote, a positive workplace environment?
Okay. Cultures that promote toxicity are cultures where things go wrong and they do nothing about it. You know, yeah. A leader does something wrong and nothing is done about it. Even as staff, it may not necessarily be a leader. A staff who maybe has some connection in the organization does something wrong and nothing is done about it. What message is sent? That we don't need to actually follow all the policies and procedures and the rules and the regulations. Yeah? Those are the cultures that support uh, those are the organizations that encourage bad culture. Organizations that encourage cultures that are not toxic are where it's very clear. These are the guidelines, these are the rules, these are the policies. Don't breach them, don't break them. And if you do, there are consequences. Yeah. And the consequences should be meted fairly, irrespective of position, affiliations, or such things. Yeah. Cultures where there's feedback mechanisms that work, not just that, oh, we have a whistleblowing policy, and then when someone whistleblows, kidogo, they are tracked down and they become the victim now. So the
Yeah,
policies, mechanisms, feedback mechanisms that work. Cultures where people are trained, even the leaders, on emotional intelligence and managing people. Cultures that invest in developing their leaders, yeah, to be the best persons that can be. Cultures that encourage discovery of self-awareness among their leaders. Yeah, cultures that have an open, I don't want to call it an open door policy, but I'd say an open speaking policy, Yeah. Where as long as what you're saying is not abusive or anything, it is just something that may grow the organization. It's rewarded besides only results. Cultures that don't focus only on results, but they also focus on the human being. Those are environments where um, people thrive and the business thrives.
brilliant. Toxic cultures, we have no
Mm.
consequences. Positive cultures, we have
Accountability,
accountability.
yes.
Now, someone who is listening or
Mhm,
watching to this
mhm,
session, and maybe they're currently in the toxic side of the divide,
mhm,
but they would love to improve,
mm,
and put actionable, visible
mm.
solutions within the
Yeah.
organization. What would you recommend? Because
Mm,
obviously, you cannot just wake up one day, call a town hall, and say,
mm,
for the longest time, XYZ has been
mm,
happening, and going
mm,
forward, this is how we're going to do it.
mm,
It has to be
mm,
intentional, it has to be
mm,
continuous, it has to be enabled, and people need to
mm.
see that it's not just word speak.
Yeah. People need to see that.
Yeah. What would you
First,
recommend? What would be your
yeah,
advice?
I'd recommend that first, the the acknowledgement that there's something wrong with the culture. Yeah. Because you can only start by acknowledging that this culture is not good and it's not taking us in the right place. You can acknowledge it in various ways. You can do employee engagement surveys, but depending on the openness of the organization, you may not get a real picture. You can do employee satisfaction surveys, but if they're anonymous, you may get the right picture. And if the staff are sure it's very anonymous, yeah, you get the right picture. So when you genuinely acknowledge that there's something wrong with the culture, then you own the problem. Yeah, the problems that exist in the culture. Yeah, and decide how can we work around correcting these problems. Yeah, and that calls for
Yeah.
accountability. Yeah, yeah, owning the
Yeah.
mistakes without shifting blame to anybody, to the system or to the people or to the leaders. Just own it as a group. Yeah, then create safe channels for feedback. Safe channels for feedback so that you can be able to receive the feedback, and know how
Yeah.
you are as a leader, how you are as an organization. And this would be very good, especially for the leaders, yeah? So that they get personal feedback, so that they know exactly how are they faring, yeah? So, and to get good feedback, you have to create a psychologically safe environment. Psychologically safety is where people feel free to talk and express themselves about how work is going, what is bothering them in the workplace, especially, what could be improved, their suggestions, and all that, without fear of being punished after that. So it takes time to create that kind of psychological safety, but you have to do it. And then when you're doing all this, then there needs to be consistency. Consistency shows commitment, yeah? When you show consistency, the employees will see, okay, he or she is really serious. They want to change this culture, yeah? So it should not be a
Yeah.
one day affair, as you say, call a town hall, say, now we are going to change our culture and this is what we are going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks down the line, things are still going wrong. Yeah, in fact, maybe the same person who has talked about that culture is the same one doing the opposite. So there should be consistency, and it should be repeated positive interactions. Yeah, repeated positive
Yeah.
interactions. So that way the trust starts building. Yeah, yeah, and then following through on promises, on commitments, treating everyone fairly, and constructing and using constructive responses when challenged. You know, there's some people who don't take feedback positively and become very defensive and reactive and even punitive to the people who have given them the feedback. Yeah, so there should be
Yeah.
positive response to feedback, no matter how bad it sounds. Someone should reflect on it and then decide, okay, what next? Is this what they're saying about me? So that calls for repairing of relationships, especially when there has been a big breach and when trust has been broken. You know, all relationships, even the employment contract, they're based on trust. Yeah. And once trust is
Yeah.
broken, it's very hard you can break it in a minute, but you need a
But
long time to restore it. Yeah, so it's
yes.
fundamentally a human thing, and it should be treated very carefully. In fact, they say that trust is earned in drops, but it is lost in buckets. Yeah, that shows you how long
Yeah.
it takes how easy it is to use a big chunk of trust, but to get it back is very hard. Yeah, so that process of repairing the trust, if they follow all those steps and be consistent. Consistency is so important because it shows commitment. Then they can be able to change the culture into a positive culture. And when trust is there, the employees also emulate the same. Yes. What leaders forget is that they are templates. You know, they're templates. And that's why sometimes when leadership is bad at the top, it goes all the way down. Yeah. So they should give right templates to the people they lead.
It's leading by example.
By
So
example, they should be
yeah.
role models. good role models. No, they're bad role models.
Very many, very
Yes.
many. And I think oftentimes people think that, the humility that comes with building a positive work environment, some people sometimes deem it to be a weakness.
Yeah.
But what people fail to understand is the authenticity that comes with the genuinity of the
Mm-hmm.
intentions that you have.
Mm.
It enables you to gain a lot of trust,
A
to
lot of.
gain a lot of room to
Mm.
experiment from people, because I've come to appreciate that oftentimes people are not actually afraid of change. They are actually afraid of the fact that we've been here, we've had it, nothing ever happens. So what's going to change?
Mm.
Because they've already seen that you're really good at talking, but
Mm.
very poor
Mm.
at following through.
Mm.
So even if you come with a beautiful deck,
Mm.
we will listen. And instead of we listen, we don't judge, it is we listen and we judge.
Mm. We listen and we judge. That's
We
true.
listen and we judge
Mm.
because you're not going to follow through. So why should I
Mm.
believe you? Why should I trust you?
Why should I trust you?
And I think that is where, even when it comes to organizations and leadership, any change, be it in terms of leadership, it in terms of a change of process, when the topmost leadership does not actually lead by example,
Mm-hmm.
it just becomes a text in another novel.
Yes,
It,
it does. Mm.
it just becomes, oh, same script, different cast. However, when they follow through, when they lead by example, it becomes easier for people to buy in. What are your thoughts?
I can't overemphasize. In fact, that is what I keep talking about in my book. Huh? How not to lead. I cannot ever overemphasize the importance of a leader also. Yeah. And especially the top leader. Yeah. Because it's his message that goes across. So if he's laissez faire, everyone will be laissez faire. If he's hardworking and he role models and walks the talk and all that, that is what will happen across the board. Yeah. So even as we say organizations can have systematic failures, the failure of the organization may be not to curb the bad behavior. Yeah. But the leaders must be self aware, they must be emotionally intelligent, they must understand the impact that they have on the people they lead, and that they're so powerful in terms of how they impact on the minds of the people they lead. But again, they should realize that the power and the authority is servitude. It's servant leadership. You know, you haven't been entrusted with all these people to try and bring out the best out of them. Yeah. So how can you do it? So many leaders misinterpret power, and unfortunately, they say sometimes power goes into their heads. Yeah, and that's when now it starts going wrong. They forget that I am here to build this organization, build these people, bring the best out of it. And they just start saying, I am here, the boss, the powerful authority. And and that's when it becomes so crazy. The brilliant minds get tired, they stop talking, they stop acting, they let everything pass you know and it trickles down, the good talent hangs in for a while and goes. The other talent who are also not so, they just pair, but they feel they can't tolerate this, they will take off as well. And you'll spend your time, the poor HR will spend her time recruiting, recruiting, advertising. And you know what that means, yeah? Takes forever by the time you finish the whole process, and then the new person comes in, usually at a higher cost. You see, those are budget implications with the and then they need like 6 months probation to get used to the situation. And then if the environment is toxic, they may even decide that 6 months they don't even want to stay there. Yeah, so it just has so much ripple effect. Yeah, so I always say if the leader at the top can just get it right, if they can just get it right, things go right. Yeah, all the way down.
And to add on to what you've said,
Mm,
even if you have a good leader at the top,
mm,
and then you have someone, say, below you that
mm,
provides the results, but
mm.
the way they lead is
Yes.
questionable,
Mm.
then you need to be a leader that is not hesitant to pull the plug.
Oh, yes. That's why I talked about consequences. A good leader is very aware and they even notice what is going when they're in touch, what is going on. And because you're a good leader, you've created a safe, psychologically safe environment such that if things are bad, staff can even come to you and tell them, we are not being managed well. We know we need to deliver results, but this is the way it is going. But if you're not a good leader, if you have not created that environment, you will not know. So a good leader has their eyes everywhere and they can notice even when something is wrong. And because they've created a safe working environment, people will let them know that something is going wrong somewhere. But a bad leader will not know. Because first of all, who wants to go and tell him? So that I get fired or yelled at and become a target. So then it just continues getting bad and bad and worse and worse and worse. Yes, that's why my emphasis is at the top, because the top determines how the rest behave. You see, you cannot come and be roguish where roguishness is not allowed. Yeah, you can only practice that for a short while. Yeah. Mm.
And then it's nipped.
Yes, so I believe, yeah, and it's nipped. Yeah,
Mm.
so I believe, in my opinion, the top leadership are highly responsible for how the other leaders, middle management, junior management, how they all lead. Yeah, they set the tone. Yes.
What you've said has actually resonated with actually a post I read today on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
from a gentleman who has led a very successful career in hospitality. And he
Mm-hmm.
was talking about the best CEOs
Mm-hmm.
because he's in the tourism side, hospitality of hospitality. Was
Mm-hmm.
talking about the best CEOs are the ones that have ever spent time in the various functions of the organizations. So you know how breakfast is prepared, and when the guests are having their breakfast being prepared, they know how when the checkout, the experience at check-in and checkout, they know the experience about those stand-up meetings that happen in different organizations, say before a shift starts or there's a change of shift. They have actually experienced the different departments, how they operate,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening there, the frustrations that are there, and they have participated there, not in their full capacity as CEO.
Mm-hmm.
They're going there like any other employee. You remember that you're also an employee of that organization, and you're taking the time to listen, to see and listen what is working, what is not working, and what can be changed. So you walk away informed,
Mm-hmm.
and that actually goes hand in hand with what you're saying. You're not just a leader, you sit at the top floor and everything is served to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a leader that actually takes the time. If there are grumblings, if there is non-performance, you take the time to go sit with the people and understand what's going on.
Yes. A good leader interacts with the people. There are leaders who, honestly, some people in the organization don't know how they look. Yeah, they can't pick them out because they use their private lift on the side, go up to their office. And then they finish, they go down. So the only people who know them are maybe their PAs, the senior management who relate to them once in a while, and the board members. Yeah. So the rest of the staff don't even know you. They see you. They see your emails maybe once in a while. They see your picture when you came in. It was announced this is our new CEO, but they don't see you. So when you're like that, how will you even know what is going on? Yeah. So a good leader gets time to, they call it management by walking around. And I also don't like that term so much because it can mean micromanagement. So it should not be confused with micromanagement, but it's more of get to know the people, get to know what goes on, get out of your desk, go and interact with the people. In fact, that's when you'll hear the feedback that you need to hear. And even your presence, just your presence there now and again shows them you care. Yeah, and we are humans, so we love to be cared for. Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
yeah. So when you feel that this boss cares for us, he's always coming to check on us. It's like an absent parent, for example. What effect does that have to the children? You see, and a present parent. There's the difference. So leaders should know they're almost like parents, and they're not seen. It's like they're absent to the people they lead. So where is the connection? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no connection. There's no connection. So they need to build that connection. So they should know that it's not the corner office, you just stay there. Everything is brought to you. You don't even move around. So you don't know what goes on. You just know your briefcase and the lift and down to your car. Your chauffeur takes you away. And the next day, same routine, upwards. Yeah. So leaders should walk around. They should meet their staff, no matter how far. Even if it's like say an organization with branches, go visit, go meet the staff, spend a day or two with them. Just see how do they relate. Then you see the challenges they're also facing. Maybe there are systematic challenges they are facing, but you're not aware. Yeah, and their leader there also has not bothered to inform because also I mean the culture is we don't care. Yeah, yeah, let's just operate with whatever is there. So you need to go down to the people. You need to go down to the people. And now I'm talking about servant leadership.
Yeah.
Yes.
What you said, you've reminded me of a show that used to be there called Undercover Boss. And especially in America, it was a big deal where the CEOs would
Yeah.
identify, would go undercover. They have a different look, feel, different name, and they would experience the harsh realities of the organizations firsthand. Some loved what they were seeing. Some would be very shocked about, all the failed processes or the lack of support that the staff were having. And some would be so inspired that they actually took those, the team leaders on the ground to become, future leaders within the organization because what they have been doing should be replicated in other places. So we are not saying that, every big boss should go on undercover,
Yeah.
but don't wait for you to have the need to do undercover. Just take the time and walk the floors, meet the people, know their names. It will definitely mean a lot to the people that work for you. Now,
From my experience, I love it. I once had a leader who would just come into the HR department, you know, and just pull a chair and sit there and chat with us, you know, like for 1 hour with each individual, and just have a conversation with us and ask us, oh, how is everything and all that, even about how your family is and oh, what challenge, it used to make us feel so good. And he made it a point to do that like at least once every 2 months. And I think he was doing that in every
function.
department. It was so motivating and it made us connected to him. We felt close to him and he got to know the staff, one by one, he got to know them. And it creates a bond, I mean, what better thing than your staff loving you and thinking you really care for them? Yeah, what better thing? Won't they do their best for you
You
or
gain
for the
loyalty.
organization? Yes, you gain loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really love that. So it's something I would encourage leaders to also try and do. Create a connection. You're dealing with human beings, not machines. They have feelings, they have emotions, they have needs. Yeah. Mm,
It's important.
yes.
That human touch, that human
Yes.
conversation has a huge positive impact. Now,
Mm,
some of the most capable people stay in unhealthy workplaces longer than anyone expects. Why do
mm.
high performers tolerate poor leadership for so long?
Okay. Okay, high performers, first of all, they are high performers, meaning they like to succeed, isn't it? They like to succeed and they're committed to their work. Because, I mean, if you're not committed to the work, you can't perform well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're very committed to their work. They're usually also very committed to the mission and vision of the organization. They're highly engaged, that's what I would say, yeah? And they believe in the organization. Maybe they're even there when the environment was better and now it's changing. So they still live hoping that it can change back to be a good organization. So because of those reasons, and also sometimes just financial responsibilities and obligations that they don't want to take chances. Yeah, they have children in school, they have school fees to pay. They just have to make sure there's some stability in their homes financially.
Yeah.
So they will hang around and try their best to still try and see if the culture then will change. They hang around with that hope that I'll just hang around here, things will change, I'll continue doing my best, and they'll try and try. But ultimately, even then, it reaches a point that they also burn out. Yeah, they burn out and they just decide, no, I think I better take the risk and look for something else. Yeah, but that's the reason that makes, and then they have a high sense of loyalty. Yeah, so a high sense of loyalty, and some that's where they've worked ever since they left college. They don't know another environment. So the fear of the unknown, yeah, they don't have that courage to move. And others also have ambition. I've been here for so long, I'm performing well, I will grow. Because everyone wants to grow in their working place. Irrespective of the culture and the circumstances, I will grow. That's why sometimes you see high performers hanging around longer. In fact, mostly the high performers are usually the last ones to leave. And when it reaches there, it means it's really bad. Because the high loyalty levels, even them, they've reached like, I cannot handle this much anymore. It's a bad sign. Yeah. But they're usually loyal employees with great ambition and they just carry the mission and vision of the organization in their hearts.
It's quite interesting because for some people, yes, I totally agree that there are people, you're a high performer, you are producing the results, and most probably, oftentimes, high performers will also get, the reward that comes their way, the
Yes.
remuneration.
Mm.
But oftentimes, you will find it's fear that will hold them back. It's not that they are not aware of the toxicity.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think it's like they're trying to block out the noise. They're trying to block out and just focus on what they need to do,
Yes.
as long as they get the remuneration. But as you very truly said, they will get tired.
They get tired. It reaches a point they get tired. They're human as well. Then their fear usually is they're used to a certain environment. You know, the fear of the unknown can really hold you back into a lot of things that you
Oh,
don't really need to tolerate. Yeah.
true.
So, because I mean, if they left, I mean, nobody will beat them up. Yeah. So that's not the level of fear. It's the
True.
fear of what next.
Better the devil I know than the
Better
one
the
I
devil I
don't.
know. Yeah, yeah. Better the devil I know than the one I don't. That's the fear they actually operate from when it comes to fear. But also, there's loyalty, there's ambition,
Yeah.
they have the organizations at heart. And mostly because, and you'll find these are people also who have stayed there for a long time. Eh? So they've seen the organization in its good times, in its bad times, and they have that picture of the good time, and they stay there with the hope that the good times will come and replay themselves again. Yeah.
But also, you'll also notice that sometimes high performers that are key people, may also not have the same toxic interaction that others will, because the organization also doesn't want to lose them. So
Oh yes.
they will be they will the experience within the organization
Yeah.
might be a bit blurred compared to others, because the moment they go, the
Mm,
organization is aware that they will struggle. So
yeah. That's indeed
it's
true.
quite unfortunate. It's also hypocritical, but
Mm.
it does happen.
It does happen. And I think it boils down on character as a person because, there are people are different. There are people who are me as long as I'm fine. That's all that matters. Yeah. Then there are people who are like with a value system like I can't stand this kind of environment. Even if I'm being treated well and I'm watching my colleagues being treated badly, I
Yeah,
cannot stand this kind of environment. So that one boils to character and a person's value system. Yes.
I couldn't agree more. Now, what does so what does that so we've spoken about why they stay, but now what
Mm.
does that reveal about power, ambition, loyalty, and psychological safety? Do we go back, narrow it down to the last pointer that you've made, character and value system, or is
Mm.
there more that we need to be aware of?
Mm. Okay. What it boils down to is that there's a need for self-awareness to the point that you know how far your loyalty can go. Yeah. And then there's a need for knowing how much psychological safety you need to function well. Yes, to function well. And there's the need for the leaders to realize the importance of creating psychological safety within their teams. And also, there's the need of the leaders to realize the importance of their power and authority, and that it is supposed to be for the benefit of the organization, and more importantly, the people they lead, and not for their own benefit. Boiling down again to servant leadership. Yes. That's how I would relate that. For the employees, they have to just also be self aware and know. Sometimes you can be loyal to your fault.
Yes.
Yes, so you have to draw boundaries and know how far can this loyalty go. Mhm.
It reminds me of in psychology when they talk about the Johari window.
Mhm.
You know, the things that everyone knows about me. There's the things I know about myself that you don't know. Then there are the
Mhm.
things you know about me that I am blind to.
Mhm.
And then the fourth quadrant is the things that even on the subconscious, I'm not, no one is aware of.
Yes, yes.
So that aspect of the self-awareness,
Mhm.
knowing your blind spots, knowing your strengths, knowing what you can tolerate, what you don't tolerate, what are your
Yes.
boundaries,
Mhm.
and then ensuring that not only are you grooming the
Mhm.
safe environment, that safe bubble,
Mhm.
but also you're ensuring that you are not promoting poor behaviors
Mhm.
within your environment for your own benefit.
For
So
your own benefit,
yeah,
yes.
so
Mhm.
you have to ensure or work hard to ensure that it feels fair,
Yes.
equity. People talk about equality
Yes. Yes.
because when we talk about, for example, in diversity, equality, inclusivity, someone would say that it's not equal. But the truth of the matter is, we are not all in the same environment. We are all not working with the same, you know, resources. So if you want to talk about equality, it's not dividing fully into three. If let's say you're talking about three people or even two people, it's ensuring that the portion that is being provided to each party is the fair portion that they deserve. Because, for example, some people say, have had the opportunity to have it easier in life. Maybe they had better resources, they had better opportunities. accorded to them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you compare that, for example, a child based in Nairobi, let's use children, a child based out in Nairobi, the opportunity for education and all these things is better compared to a child based out in North Hor or
Yeah.
in
True.
Garissa, in very remote places. So if you were to talk about equality, it's to ensure that the child in Nairobi is not, you're not just dividing it into two. You're just ensuring that the resources and provisions that the child in North Hor or Garissa lacked, they can actually catch up onto that, and they might end up getting a bigger share than this other child, but it's only fair for them so that they can come to the same level playing field. So I think
Yeah.
it's the same thing when it comes to, you know, the workplace environment, when it
Yeah.
comes to that level of self-awareness. Different people interacting with different people, different personalities. How you interact with person A is totally different with person B. So it's that differentiation as a leader. How self aware are you? Or are you just doing blanket leadership, thinking that everyone is on the same level playing field and they are not?
Yes, and how well do you know your staff? How well do you know what they need? How well do you know them as persons so that you know best how to handle each with their different characters, their different talents, their different strengths, their different weaknesses. Yeah, you can't treat them all blanket. But fairness, on the other hand, is making sure that everyone is treated fairly based on a circumstance. For example, I cannot do wrong, and my colleague here does wrong, and I'm punished, and they are not punished, irrespective of position or what. Even if the position is higher, there are ways to handle that discipline process
Yeah.
and just give consequences that make sure that everything goes right. So where fairness is not practiced, things don't go well. Things don't go well. People need to feel they're in a fair environment also. Yes. But when it comes to equality, equality is a different dynamic altogether, as you say. I think even the education system long ago used to do that. Students from the remote areas, even if you'd had, let's say, another student had higher points than you, you'd get into a better school because they know you have worked through some very difficult environment,
Environment.
but still made it. So you're capable. Yeah. So equality, the dynamics are different. Yeah.
As
But
you said about,
fairness has no difference in dynamics.
absolutely, and as the late John Mishuki said, actions have consequences.
Yes, actions
So,
have consequences. So every action should get its consequence, good or bad.
abs- couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I think the consequences part is where a lot of organizations fail. That lack of consequence and follow through. That's where there's a lack of connection, oftentimes. Now,
Yes, and that's when consequences are not meted, it becomes normal and it becomes culture.
yes, because it's promoted
Yeah, and
directly or indirectly.
yes, it becomes bad culture. Yeah.
Now, if someone listening today recognizes aspects of themselves in this conversation,
Mm.
what's the first step towards becoming a better leader? And how can they distinguish between changing their behavior and truly changing themselves?
I think the first step they should do, they need to do a reflection. First, they should get feedback. They should try and get feedback. They need to be aware and try and get as much as possible honest feedback from the people they lead. Okay? Once they get the feedback, and it'll be hard for them to get the feedback so easily because they'll have to start building the trust, rebuilding the trust and all that. But it depends on how they approach it and how they receive the feedback. They should then approach the same people and make their commitments to listen to them and make the commitments to change. Yeah. And then, as I said earlier, effect the changes and let them be consistent. Show genuineness, be authentic in your need to change, and let them feel it. Let the staff feel that you are actually willing to change. It's not just another of your many stories. And there are things you can do. There are reflections you can make. There are things you can read that can help you to become a better leader. Yeah, in fact, I don't know, Rosemary. In this book, How to Lead, I
Yep.
have given many examples of how the habits, that create bad leadership. And at the end of it, at the end of every chapter, I have given reflection exercises, questions, and methods that you can use to improve your leadership.
Yep.
Reason why I realize that some people don't even realize that they're actually bad leaders. They think they're just doing their work. And that's why I was saying it's not intentional. Very few. I'd say maybe a small percent do it deliberately, and those ones have their own agendas. But majority, they've picked the wrong template. Yeah, they're on a self-preservation mode. Yeah, they're trying to to beat crazy targets, and they just find themselves going downhill in that way. So I'd recommend that people buy this book, read. There are many ways to correct yourself and your leadership. Yeah, it all is not lost. Yeah. But they have to first get feedback because that's how you, yeah. Then work on the feedback consistently and genuinely.
Yeah, sometimes people think that, bad leaders are limited to, those that are genuinely doing the wrong things. But we
Mm,
also fail to understand that sometimes, even when you have a leader who is too people pleasing, a
yeah.
leader who is avoidant of tough conversations, that
Mm.
also will create a bad leader.
You know, as a leader, you have to be firm. You can't be such a people pleaser because you have to. I mean, your mission is to deliver what you have to deliver and get it from the people the right way. Yeah. So there's leaders who like to be liked to the point that they don't even they don't put their foot down sometimes. Yeah, on things that need to be put down, which can also be detrimental. Yeah. And you talk about people pleasers and you said something else? Just
No,
remind me. Mm.
people pleasers and people that are avoidant of having difficult
Avoidant,
conversation.
avoidant is even worse. Yeah, avoidant is worse because if you cannot have this world has difficulties. If you cannot have difficult conversations, if a staff, for example, is just not delivering, if you cannot tell them, hey, Roslyn, I think here you need to pull up your socks. Let's sit and see how you can do it. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping the organization. You're not helping Roslyn. Neither are you helping yourself. So if you're a leader who is avoidant and a people
People
pleaser,
please.
actually in the wrong place. In the wrong place. Yeah. But as I said, not all is lost. There are ways to improve. Mm,
Before I jump onto the final question,
mm,
oftentimes you will find organizations promote high performance into leadership.
mm,
Now, and that's a mistake because performance and leadership are two different, unique,
mm,
unique landscapes.
mm,
What is your message or what is your advice to people or organizations that are quick to promote high performers at the
mm,
detriment of, a department, a function, or even the actual performance of the high performer? Because there are people that are they just want to get the work done. They
mm,
want to see the results. They don't want to deal with people. They don't want the drama. They don't want to deal with PIPs, PIPs, and leave management and
mm.
performance management, appraisals, and all that stuff. The people
Yeah.
that just want to do the job
Just to
and
be
leave
leaders,
me alone.
just to do their work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who are very good technically, and they're just that, and that's all they want to do. But because they perform so well, they're mistaken to be leaders. And so, unfortunately, they're promoted. And sometimes I call that setting someone up for failure. They're promoted into leadership and they're having to lead a team of 20. They have no leadership skills. They have not even been prepared. And maybe it's just not in them to be a leader. They don't, it's not what they want. But they'll take it because, oh, it's a promotion, I have a title, I'll get a more salary and all that. But they get very frustrated in their jobs, and in the process their productivity goes down. Yes. And the productivity of those they are leading also goes down because of poor leadership. I won't call it bad because they are not bad. It's poor leadership. So, what I'd advise organizations when you want to promote someone because of their technical competence, which is very important, please prepare them adequately for leadership roles. First, find out if they're interested in the leadership role. Assess their character over time and see can they be leaders. Yeah? Then develop them, even if you're going to take 2 years to develop them through coaching, through training, through leadership training, through exposure, through what, yeah? Into leadership. Don't just throw them in the deep end with their technical skills to lead a team of 20, yeah, who are doing the same thing that they were doing, only that they were doing it better. That she was doing it better or he was doing it better. So I'd advise organizations to also study their people well and know who can make a leader. But then there are people who just want to make leaders. Yeah. And leadership and technical skills are different things. You are very right. Yes. But if you feel this is the person because they know everything in this department, then prepare them well.
Now,
Yes.
what message
And, and get their consent that that's the direction they want to go.
you
Yeah.
want to take?
Yeah.
Now,
Mm,
as a HR professional,
mm,
we're big on talking about succession planning.
mhm,
And often, or there have been cases, a technical person has been promoted into a leadership. Now, technical and leadership doesn't necessarily have to go hand in hand.
mm,
And it's not often that you will find someone that has both the technical capability and the leadership
mm,
capability.
mhm.
What is your message to, fellow colleagues in the profession when you're talking about succession planning? What messaging would you want them to pass on to organization? Because, in as much as yes, HR will be there, we're talking about succession planning, they are also dealing with feedback that is being provided to them by the people that are on the ground. HR is not all in all functions and all departments. They are using feedback from, that is
Corporate
coming
ground.
from, yeah.
Mm.
What messaging, how would you help them handle future succession planning to avoid scenarios where technical skills are being deemed as an automated, path to
Automatic
leadership?
path to leadership.
Mhm.
Okay, this is a big challenge to, for example, heads of departments, even the CEOs, even managers who have people about them. Part of your job is to grow the people that lead you, not to leave them stagnated. Where you found them is where you leave them. So, succession planning is just not moving somebody from one position to another. At now, this one has succeeded, this one, no. Succession planning is a daily routine. As you work each day with the manager or supervisor under you, you're supposed to be exposing them, yeah, to your work, to your work. Get ways of exposing them to your work. Work with them, challenge them with your work, yeah? So that they learn. Even let them go and sit in the boardroom and make presentations, yeah? Let them do things that you do. So that way you are preparing them, yeah? And they come out of there like, wow, I handled that board meeting. So this is how they go, yeah? So succession planning should be a daily routine. What you're doing, when you're working on things you know that this person should know, always ask yourself, when I go out of here, what will happen, yeah? Always make sure they're in the picture with you. Work with them. Let them do your work with you as they do theirs. So that let them always be a learning process going on. And that way, even you'll be imparting leadership skills on the very able technical person. Yeah? They'll see how you're handling your role as a leader and they will learn from you. You become their template. That's what I would say about succession planning. Because sometimes you may end up getting a leader who also lacks the technical skills. And it's important to have, you can't lead what you really don't know very well. So if you can have the person grow within, it is good. It's even good for career growth, for staff morale, that they know I can grow up the ranks, yeah? So make it your job to make sure that should an opportunity arise, this person below me should be able to comfortably sit on my desk, yes? Hold their hands on my desk and do my work as they learn it. So that's the message I tell people. There are leaders who don't even like the people they manage to know what they're doing. I find that a very selfish attitude. Yeah? So make the staff below you know what you're doing. That's how you train them. Give them challenging tasks. This time, I need a training report that will go to the board for the board meeting of this. Allocate to the training and development person. I need this about staff data on this, allocate to the administrative HR and all that. Finally, ask the HR manager and you compile this as a board paper. Using this template, you provide them a previous board paper, combine this, yeah. And one day, you can go and sit with them in board meetings such that the day maybe you're incapacitated one morning, you're feeling unwell and you can't go to work and there's a board meeting, make them always involved. Let them know the board paper that is going, unless it's very, very confidential. Make them know that at least the person next to you, the person, your successor, should know, so that if you can't go to work that day, they'll jump in and represent you well in the board meeting. Yeah, that's what I'd advise people. I believe leadership is about growing people. If you're not growing people in your department, you're not leading. You need to leave them at a better place than where you found them. That's when you know you're leading and leading well. Yeah.
Continuous learning is
Yeah.
not just limited
Just
to, L&D.
practically.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Now,
mm,
wow, we've already got to the top of the hour. To the final question.
mm.
If we were completely honest, do we have more toxic leaders or more workplaces that quietly make toxic leadership possible? And what responsibility does every one of us have in breaking that cycle?
Okay. I think it's a mix of both. But I put the higher responsibility of dealing with the toxicity on the organizations and their systems. Yeah, because those could be systematic failures, yeah, where there are no consequences, where bad behavior is not
Called out.
called out, yeah, and dealt with. So it's a mix of both. But also, not only that, even employees should learn to be able to speak out when things are not good and not be so intimidated. Yeah? Yeah. They should learn to be able to speak out. There are employees who are literally sick because they're holding in so much, but they can't say. And is a sick employee helping so much? How much of themselves are they giving? So people should be confident enough to speak out when things are not right, as long as you're saying the right thing and the truth. Yeah, employees should also be confident. But the key responsibility lies on the leaders and the organization.
Organization.
Yes, yeah. Because once they do it, even the employees won't be in situations where they have to come crying like, oh boy, this is what we are going through. Yeah. So organizations should check. But who is an organization? It's the people, isn't it? Who
Yes.
manages the organization? It's
The
the
people.
leaders.
Yeah.
Yes, and the leaders. So the leaders also have a big role to ensure that their organizations have the right culture that that allows people to be their best and perform their best and be happy at work. You know, people spend many hours at work. A lot of
A
them.
lot. A
Yes.
lot. A
So
lot.
imagine being in a horrible environment for all those hours. It's not even good for their mental, physical, psychological health. Yeah. So leaders should also know that leadership is not only about power over people, about responsibility for people. Yeah. It is about responsibility for people.
You have put it so nicely. The systemic failures, these systems are built by people.
Yes, they're
Because
built
of
by
the systemic failures bring out that discipline or those boundaries. However, if they're failing in promoting positive workplaces, we must call out those systemic failures and do
yes,
something about it.
yes, yes.
And leadership should take the front. I mean, they should
That's
take
right.
the
Mm.
leader. This is repetition, but they should actually,
The leading role.
yes,
Yes. Mm,
take the reins and
mm,
guide people out of the mess that has been created,
mm,
directly or indirectly.
mm. Yes, and
And as you
also,
touched,
mm,
no, go ahead.
also leadership is about courage. Eh? Yeah, as a leader, you have to be courageous. And that's why I was very worried about the avoidant leaders or the ones who there was avoidant and people pleasers.
Yeah,
No, leadership is about courage. Once you get compromised into people pleasing and avoidancy, you're not leading. And when I say courage, I mean the courage to speak up when things are wrong and to correct them. Yes. Leadership is about courage. You cannot be a leader if you do not have courage. You cannot be a good leader if you do not have courage. Yes.
absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Jacinta, I cannot thank you enough. Guiding us through this topic tonight when leadership goes wrong, toxic leaders, broken cultures, and the
Mm,
ripple effect across teams.
mm,
I dare mention some of the tips that you provided earlier on how to create a positive workplace environment, from acknowledging failed systems to owning the problem and curating solutions, accountability, to creating safe channels for feedback, psychological safety, consistency, and it definitely will show with commitment, repeated positive interactions, follow through, fairness, constructive responses to feedback, repairing of relationships. And there's something that you actually said that resonated really well with me. Trust is earned in drops, but lost in buckets.
it's lost in buckets.
So I think for me that is my key takeaway from
Mm,
all that you've spoken, because
mm,
yes, an environment of trust is one that is going to provide positive outcomes within an organization.
definitely. Mm,
But where trust is lacking, then you can only imagine the disaster that is going to follow.
yeah,
What are
that's
your parting words, Jacinta?
okay. My parting words is that I'd like to just let leaders know that the strongest leaders are not those who command the most authority. Because people think that I'm strong because I command so much authority. No, they're the ones who inspire the greatest trust. Those are the strongest leaders. Yeah, that's my parting shot. Let's be that
Again,
kind of leaders.
back to trust.
Back to trust.
Back to
Boils
trust.
all boils down to trust.
Yes,
Trust and leadership highly connected.
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jacinta, for your time. Thank you very much for your insights. For those that have joined us via LinkedIn or YouTube, thank you so much for your patronage. Jacinta is the author of the book How Not to Lead. Please grab a copy. Jacinta, maybe you can let us know where people can actually get copies, hard copies or soft copies online, so that they can have a read of your wonderful book.
Okay, the book is available at Nuria Bookshop and Kibanga Bookshop, which is in Corner House. It's
Okay.
also available on Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you want it delivered to you, you can call my assistant. Let me give the number, and she organizes for the delivery within Kenya.
Okay.
Not outside, eh?
Yeah.
You can call my assistant on this number. I'm not good at cramming numbers. 07
Mm-hmm.
111
Mm-hmm.
329
Mm-hmm.
78.
7 8.
Yes.
Okay. And
Should
what's
I
your name?
repeat that? Her name is Pauline.
All right. So
Mhm.
for someone based in Kenya
Yes.
and would like a hard copy sent out to them, obviously it will be signed off by Jacinta. You
Yeah.
can reach out to Jacinta's assistant. Her name is Pauline, and you can reach her through the Kenyan number.
Number, yeah.
So let's start with +254 711 132 978.
Yes.
You can grab a copy through Nuria Bookshop, but also on Amazon. The book is available. Please feel free to reach out to check it out and have a read on the book How Not to Lead. Thank you, Ludwig
It's
and Diman, who have shared their feedback from LinkedIn. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your patronage. Jacinta, Asante Sana, and I hope we will create better leaders and more positive workplace environments. Until next time, I'm Roslyn Miner, your host for Unplugged with Ross, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session in the next week or hardly 2 weeks from now. And I'll see you in the next session of Unplugged with Ross. Until next time, keep well, have a good evening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
goodbye. Thank you.